Hey guys, so sometimes we'll hear exercises, whether a specific exercise or an exercise approach, as being described as either joint friendly or not joint friendly. And that's what I want to talk to you all about. This concept of exercise being joint friendly or an approach being joint friendly and really debunk that. Now, the thing is that all exercise in any form has the potential to be extremely joint friendly. And the reason for that is that joints get nutrition. They stay healthy simply by being moved and loaded. They need to be loaded, they need to be compressed, they need to be moved through their ranges in order to just stay healthy to begin with. So any movement, any load, any exercise has the potential to be friendly to a joint. Now, why is it that joints need to be moved and loaded? Well, they don't have blood vessels. Our body gets nutrition by blood vessels bringing fresh blood with nutrition to different tissues. Arteries will bring it, and then the veins will bring it away, and then we have lymphatic systems as well in order to do some level of drainage throughout our body. We have systems set up with other tissues, but when it comes to cartilage within our joints, there are no blood vessels within that cartilage. There is some blood vessel within the lining around our joints, and that lining produces synovial fluid. But for cartilage itself, there are no blood vessels to carry nutrition in and to remove waste. Instead, it relies on the process of diffusion, of osmosis. So it needs to be sponged. Our joints need to be sponged in order to provide fresh nutrition and to bring some waste out. And so that's what simply moving our bodies about does for joints. And we all know that feeling of when we are still or sedentary for a period of time. It doesn't really feel good after some period of time. It certainly doesn't feel that great to initially get moving. But as we do get moving, we tend to feel better. Now, besides diffusion and osmosis, that loading, that motion that tends to keep joints healthy, that tends to provide nutrition to joints and help wash out waste in the area, well, there's another factor that makes any exercise friendly to a joint, and that's that joints are self-lubricating. There is that fluid that I mentioned, synovial fluid, that is within all of the joints of our body. And that fluid is very unique in that it has thixotropic factors. And what that means is that the more that those joints are moved, our joints are moved, the synovial fluid, which is like the lubricating oil of our joints, it actually becomes more and more lubricating. It helps to reduce friction more and more the more that it's moved. And many of us will experience this, that concept of motion is the lotion. As you get moving, we tend to get warmed up, we'll say, and things feel a lot freer once we've crossed some sort of threshold of getting moving in whatever activity that is. Now, there's a lot of things that add into that feeling of being warmed up. Some of it's coordination, some of it is heightened arousal of our body, being more and more awake within the movement, within the activity. But part of it is actually that our joints are more freely able to move the more that we move them. So yes, motion is the lotion. Our joints stay healthy by moving and loading them, so we really can't say that any specific exercise is joint friendly or unfriendly because it's all good. With all of this said, it should be noted that joints prefer cyclical loading as opposed to static loading. And cyclical loading would mean that load on, load off, compress, unload, go to one end range, come off of it, get to the end range, come off of it. That kind of thing, oscillating back and forth. That creates that sponging effect to joints, and it also works very well with other body processes. So that's, by and large, would be the more favored form of load and motion for joints. But static loads, where you hold it for a period of time, whether it's, say, be going like halfway down in a squat and holding it for 5, 10 seconds, what have you, That is a more static compressive force at certain points of the joint, and that is in no way bad. But as joints do age or degenerate, or perhaps get some places that the brain is a little leery of loading, those can tend to be a little bit more sensitive in those situations. But we can't say that it's unfriendly, and we can't say what specific ranges one should avoid. It's all unique to the individual. So yes, this means that weightlifting is joint friendly. This also means that running, jumping, plyometrics of any form are also joint friendly. And moving through a full range of motion into the end ranges of motion are very joint friendly. And all of these things are potentially very healthy for joints. Now, what makes it so that who it may be more healthy for, how far, how hard, how often, that all depends on who you are as an individual, what sort of injuries you may have already accumulated in your lifetime, how coordinated and familiar you are with any of those activities, inherited factors, and just what general wear and tear you may have already had to your joints. Over time, if certain wear and tear has happened and the cartilage is thinner and thinner to the point where there's not much of any cartilage left, then it can get a little sensitive to certain ranges of motion and to certain levels of loading, but it's quite obvious when you're there, and it tends to not be a very good place. So up until that point, know that all exercise is good. It's just learning how to do it well and learning how to do it in a way that you feel very coordinated and under control, and the feedback that your body will give you as to whether you've got it or you don't will be quite obvious. So know that when someone says that an exercise is joint friendly or an approach is joint friendly or purchase this blank because it is joint friendly, know that they may be coming from a very good place. They may have very good intentions, but they really don't know what that term joint friendly means.